talking about my career path, I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. I did that in the greatest of the greatest of all universities in the world, and that's the University of Ibadan. I started out as a programmer. From there, I moved on to doing systems analysis and systems programming. From programming, I moved on to maintaining and supporting a very high class accounting, financial accounting, almost like an ERP. He had all the modules. I would say that that was my first crack at project management. Implementing the software. Again, I believe that's for Nigeria's leading software house. From there, I moved on to doing sales and marketing. I left the organization as the head of sales for the organization. From there, I started my own small outfit in Nigeria. We were the first to sell CRM solutions. CRM is simply customer relationship management software.
Yeah.
We did that for a while before my family and I relocated to Canada. Coming into Canada, I mean, it was initially tough, but I mean, along the line, I had to find my feet again. I went back to my first love, which was IT. I did support and implement SAP for a big organization here. From there, I moved on to supporting LiveLink SharePoint for an oil and gas company. So, I mean, by then I was leading a team of about 9 project managers. After that, I started developing project management solution for organizations. And at this point in time, I work for the government here in Canada.
I would like to ask this question right now. So you moved on to, being a typical developer and programmer and just, being the technical guy to moving into project management. So tell us more about that move. Say, someone who's always been that guy who he's a programmer, he's all about just, writing code, developing software, and then moving into leading projects and programs. How can someone like that, that guy, who was like you, years ago, how can he make that transition into project management?
I mean, again, I almost, without wanting to claim the glory, it was what's it called, the chief executive of the organization. One was like there was need in that area of the organization, and I mean, I've always been somebody that to take up challenges. So he called me into his office and was like, "Okay, we have a need in this area. What do you think?" I'm like, "Okay, let me give it a try." So he really wasn't by choice. It was kind of like we have a need. So that was how I got into it. And getting into it, I find it really, really good, which was like I moved from talking to systems and I moved into talking to human beings. So
Yeah.
there's a huge portion of project management, which is communication. You should be able to communicate up and down and horizontally. So I started. I had to develop my ability to communicate because I kind of was more focused on doing the machine language kind of thing. So I started with that. And if you would ask me that how did I excel? I would again say that I've been very privileged to have good people around me, to mentor me into, becoming comfortable in project management. I understood the issues. So, and that's one other thing that a good project manager would need. Understanding, what is the need? What are we doing here? So you need to be able to understand that and put a vision on the table, for your team, for the sponsor. I mean, let me just say for the stakeholders, you should be able to communicate clearly what you're doing, or you start with, okay, this is the problem that we want to solve, and this is how we intend to get there. This is what we will be getting at the end of the project. So you should be able to, promise what you can deliver. based on what you see, based on the resources that is available, based on the time that you've been given. This is what I can deliver. So I'm talking that you have to come, to the negotiating table with a lot of integrity.
You're multifaceted because you have experience across several domains: oil and gas, agriculture, government,
Manufacturing, government,
manufacturing, government,
aviation, yeah,
technology, aviation. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah.
How have you been able to move from one domain to another? I mean, you're so experienced. Like if I wake you up from bed, I know if I tell you this is a problem, you're going to tell me a full plan of that project. So how have you been able to move across domains? Some people feel like they're stuck. I've been in banking for 10 years. I've been in oil and gas for 20 years. How do I move into another domain? How have you been able to move from one domain to another and lead projects successfully?
When you're working in the bank, you have to think like a banker, and when you're working in the aviation industry, you have to think like somebody, like a professional in the aviation industry, and that simply means listening to people, which is part of communication. That you're able to listen to them, listen to what they're doing. If you're able to humble yourself enough to learn, from the people around you, you would say that there are variations, in how they do, what they do. But when you look deep down, it's all about the same thing. It's all about the bottom line, for the senior management. It's all about, driving efficiency into the organization. So that again, just tells you that yes, I recognize that there are specialties, in each of this domain. However, I would say that you, as a project manager, you don't necessarily have to be an expert, in any of those areas. What you need is to understand what their issues are and where they want to go. So you're looking at what is the current state, what problems, what challenges are you facing, and what is it that you want to achieve. So you're looking at the future and saying, okay, this is where you want to get to. So how do we together, work towards that? One of the first things that I learned, in this industry is that you become a consultant, and a consultant is somebody that you would invite, um, and you would give them money, and they would ask you, using your own wristwatch, what is the time, and they would now help you write it out and say, okay, this is the time. So so it's that easy. It's all about talking to people and understanding what their challenges are. Talking to people, you don't have to be the one to come up with the solution. All you need is enough experience to be able to walk people through how to think about how do we achieve the solution. uh, so again, I'm saying, as a project manager, you don't necessarily have to be the subject matter expert. You don't have to be the expert in the room. All you need is to be able to bring people together and pick their brains to be able to develop, a solution.
Let's talk about the PMBA role. Now, you've played both roles separately. You've played that hybrid role. So let's talk about the PM and the BA role. So for someone like you who has had that experience of being a PM, being a BA, and being a hybrid, for someone who feels like, oh, I'm stuck between PM and BA, what would be your advice with regards to going through that part of being a hybrid?
Depending on where you start from, it's possible to start out as a PM or as a BA. I almost would say that it's almost like a natural progression going from a BA to a PM. If that is the path in which you find yourself going from a BA, and you feel stuck as a BA, first thing is, as a BA, you really should have had the opportunity of working with PMs. I'm sorry. Working with PMs simply means that you're understudying them, and I believe that people are always willing to help if you let them know, what you want to achieve, for the most part. So just, being able to open up to your PM to say, I like, to understudy you. And you begin to take more and more responsibility off of the PM. So there are some, what you probably would think are typical PM roles, especially maybe like meetings with senior people. Those are typically the PM role, meeting with the sponsor, you want to ask the PM, can I come with you, to meet with the sponsors when you have your steering committee meetings? Those are typically things that a PM will do. You're asking, can I come with you? Can I help you set it up? Can I help you write the reports? The reports that is going to senior management. Can I help you? That way, you're beginning to, put yourself in that role. And
Yeah.
when you're starting your meetings, you let people know, I'm not the PM, so please don't shoot me. When you need to shoot somebody, that's the person to shoot over there. Be vulnerable, be willing to take risk, be willing, to try stuff, especially when life is not involved. If it's not going to kill somebody, if it's not going to make the company, make a big loss, So I'm saying, start out small, but begin to scale fast.
So I wanted to ask this question: what's a typical day in the life of a project manager? So maybe when we break this down, people would see, okay, this is really what a project manager does. So on a project, what's the role of a project manager on a project? What's a typical day in life of the project manager?
Depending on the phase of your project, depending
Mhm.
on the time frame, in which your project is, it might, like it might fluctuate. Um, Let me start from the inception. So you start with your stakeholders analysis, looking at all the different people that you need to talk to. Those are your stakeholders. You're looking at the kind of influence that they carry. What impact does the project have on them? So you're looking at the influence. You're looking at the power. So it's called the power grid. How much power does this person carry? How much does this project affect this person? So let me say hypothetically, you have a CRM, a customer relationship management solution to implement
Yes.
in your, so it will be impacting on the chief sales officer. You'll be impacting on the chief marketing officer. I mean, the bottom line again, money is coming in, so the money would have to go into the financial application.
Yeah.
So it would have impact on the CFO.
Hmm.
But let me look at the chief admin officer, for example.
Yeah.
The impact is not so much, but do they carry power? Do they carry influence? I would think
Mhm.
yes. That if you don't have the right set of people, the HR, person, if the HR person does not give you the necessary support, if the admin person does not give you the necessary support, there's a likelihood of not meeting your need, your project objective on time. So you need all these different people, but their interest is not on the same level. So even for the CFO, for example, he's looking at the tail end of the process when money comes in. Yes, the CFO is like, yes, give me the money. I need the money. But the chief sales officer is looking at what are my people doing? Are they visiting on time? Do they make the necessary number of calls? Are they meeting their targets? The
Yeah.
chief marketing, is looking at something different. The operations person is looking at something different. So you need to understand what is everybody's interest. How
Yeah.
much power, how much power do they carry? That's where you will start from. And that's really at the inception. Again, when you're getting towards the end of your project, you really don't have to concern yourself so much as to defining the people. So
Yeah.
your need at that point has changed. Uh, then you start to have your meetings, with people, organizing meetings, looking, at the different people that's able to help you, because at the end of the day, the success or the failure of the project is on you, Mr. Project Manager. So you
Yeah.
carry the responsibility of ensuring that this project must be successful. So you need the right set of people. You need to, have them in the room at all time. You need to have access, to them when you need them. So you're putting meetings together, you're organizing meetings based on all that. So that is another phase. Another phase would be, we are now in the nitty gritty of implementing the solution. who what kind of people do you need at that particular point in time? The people that are actually doing the work, they have to be available. If they're not there, implementation might be stalled. So you need to clarify, so you need to meet with their managers and say, I would need, this and this persons, for this number of hours within this period of time. So those are, so you're thinking of um, different stages. Where am I going? And you will do well if you are able to plan ahead and give people enough notice, such that they know that I need to be on this project. I need to dedicate 18 hours. I need to dedicate 1 week, whatever number of days or hours that you require. You let them know so they can plan it ahead, and you
Yeah.
can be successful with that. So I'm saying that there wouldn't be a typical day in the life of a project manager, depending on the phase in which you find your project, and you're coming in, you just have to be thinking on your feet, what's next, and you have to be ahead, of your team, like two steps ahead of your team.
Thank you so much. You've shared so many valuable points. The one thing that has been, ringing in my head is, as a project manager, the success or the failure of the project relies on you. However, if you're able to work with your stakeholders and, analyze your stakeholders, and at every point in time, keep asking the right questions, you will get the results.